This is Game of Thrones Season 7, Episode 4 review, The Spoils of War. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and vote above. We see Jaime right here with a wagon full of gold that he's gotten from the Tyrells. He gives Bronn a big fat sack of gold as payment, and Bronn is complaining he don't have his castle. The Tarleys are saying we have people straggling, let's beat them. He's saying let's wait a second, they did good in the fight. We see a big train of people. We see Cersei meeting with the Iron Bank, talking about the payments on the way. We see Littlefinger giving Brandon Stark the dagger that was used to try to assassinate him. And while they're talking about the chaos that ensued, Bran says chaos is a ladder, which is Littlefinger's old word. And he knew right then, oh shit, this dude knows some stuff. And we see Mira come in to say goodbye, and she was a little salty at how Bran kind of treated her to leave. Arya is pulling up at Winterfell. She sees her long-lost home and knows, damn, it's been a long time. She's talking to the guards, telling them who she is, and they don't believe her. And then after some convincing, they let her in and tell her to wait, but then she disappears, so now they know they're in trouble. They go to tell Sansa what just happened, and Sansa, they saying, don't worry, you know, it's not real. And then after they explained it some more, she says, oh, I know who it is, and I know where she is. She then goes to the crypt where the Starks are buried, and sure enough, Arya's there. They talk about the things they've been through, give each other a hug. They talk about how the statue don't look like father, and she says, by the way, Brandon's here as well. They go and they see Brandon by the tree that they prayed near, and she says he's changed. He says, hey, I saw you when you were on your way here. You were going to go to Queen's Landing. And Sansa says, why Queen's Landing? And he says, Cersei's on her list. And he gives her the dagger that Littlefinger gave him and says, it's useless for me, but for you, it'll do better in your hands. They then all walk back through Winterfell, all three Stark children together again for the first time since episode 1 or 2. Then they show Brienne, and you know, Pod says you did a good job. We see Daenerys talking, and Missandre, and she's talking about what her and what her and Grey Worm did, but they didn't get to finish because John came over. He wanted to show her a few things inside the cave, and once they got inside the cave, he was saying, hey, I wanted to show you this before we began hacking it away and breaking everything up. What they end up seeing is that the children of the forest were once there, and they put all kind of markings and drawings inside of there showing that them and the first men were there together, and that they were there together to fight the White Walkers. Boom. And she's saying, look, I'll work with you and I'll fight with you to defeat them, but first you're going to have to bend that knee, bro. And so she do some convincing of herself, and John pretty much is going to fall in line with her. But they're interrupted by Tyrion, who's saying, yeah, we got Casterly Rock, but we lost all these other things and all these other issues. And so she asks John, what would you do? And he's trying to say, well, if you go burning everybody else, you're not special. You're like everybody else, so you got to do some things differently. And so that got her thinking of what she's going to do differently. Back in Winterfell, we see Pod still trying to practice with Brienne, and she's still kicking his ass as usual. It don't seem like he's a good learner. And in walks in little Arya, and she seems like she gotten smaller, actually. But nevertheless, Brienne is admiring her weapons, and then they have a little talk. And while they talk, you see Sansa and Littlefinger walk on up. Then they start to spar. They go at it with each other. It's a great sparring little sesh. I'm going to have to do a video about that. And it ends up with them kind of at a draw. Back in Dragonstone, John and Sir Devos is talking about what do you think about Daenerys and everything, and then they see Melisandre, and they start talking, and she asks, why are you called Snow but your dad was a Stark, and he said bastard, and she didn't understand. And then they see a Greyjoy ship coming up, so they go to meet him, and nevertheless it's the coward of the Seven Kingdoms Theon. Jon sees him and is ready to beat the living shit out of him. But Theon tries to save his ass by saying, "Oh, Jon, how you doing? How's Sansa?" And Jon, doesn't just dive in on his head after that. He chokes him up a little and say, "Because of what you did for her is the reason why you're not dead right now." And Theon is saying, "Well, I'm here to see the queen. I didn't know you was here." And he's saying, "Well, she's not here anyway." They cut back to the Lannister army, and we see Jaime and Bronn and everybody, and they talking about the troops not moving fast enough again, and they want Bronn to help them get to the troops, the people to give more grain or whatever. And then he hears a noise and say, "Wait a minute, you hear that?" And so then they hear all the noise now that they're listening. And then the first thing they do is try to ready the troops. Shields and spears, form the wall. Let's go. Get your ass in gear. Shields and spears. Everybody get ready to fight. They all lining up. Huge shield wall. They all got their spears and shields ready to fight in formation. And then over the hill, they see what they heard, which is the Dothraki horde. And man, they are massive, with a big ass dragon flying above them. And as it gets closer, they really see how big that dragon is. The wingspan is almost as big as the horde. I mean, it's just huge. And the dragon is humongous. The head, the neck, everything. The chest, he's just humongous. And Jaime and Bronn damn near shit themselves when they saw that. They've been through a lot. So for them to be scared, it was something. And she's riding the top of him. She looked like a little ant on his back. And she tells him the Dracarys, and he roasts those troops till they turn to ash. Not like burn alive, they turn to ash. And the Dothraki horde, they jumping through the line. It left a big hole in the shield wall when he just roasted them. And you can see the effectiveness of the curved swords that the Dothraki use, because they are just moving so fast, hacking up these soldiers with their long swords and spears and shooting arrows from horseback, and they just destroying the Lannister army. I mean, it's just pathetic how they made them look. I mean, the dragon, of course, doesn't hurt. Look how little she is on that dragon back. You can barely see her. And they don't know what to do right now. And Bronn tells Jaime to run to King's Landing, and he's saying, "I'm not leaving. Go get that weapon that Qyburn brought." And so Bronn readies the weapon, and he's moving fast as he can, and he's looking for Daenerys. Daenerys on the back of the dragon, flying around, roasting everything. And as they do that, Tyrion is walking up with some Dothraki to see how's it going, and he sees that they're getting slaughtered, the Lannisters, and there's Bronn, and he shoots the arrow. It's flying through the air right at the dragon, but he misses, and she sees it though. So now she know, oh man, they actually got something that might do some damage. So she swoops back around looking for him. She gets her sights ready for him. Tyrion saw that they got almost knocked down with that big spear, so he knows shit's getting real. And then Bronn and her are lined up, head-to-head battle. And it's a heavyweight matchup, and he got his mouth ready to roast and barbecue his balls. And soon as he was about to, Bronn get a shot off, and it goes right into the right side of that wing, and the dragon screams. It hurt Big D right there. Big D felt that. He was twisting in the wind, getting ready to fall through the air, crash to the ground, and Tyrion is looking like, damn, the battle is over. We about to lose our queen. And Bronn is just as happy as a pig and shit right now. He done killed the dragon and ended the war, but before he hit the ground, he steadied himself right in front of him, and Bronn had to dive to save his ass. You know what I'm saying? I was like he was off the top rope. And the dragon just roasting everything in his sight after that, and trying to destroy everything. And Bronn sees a little horse to hop on, and the dragon lands so that she can take the spear out of his arm. And she's trying to pull it, but she ain't really that strong of a person, and so she's having a hard time pulling that big ass spear out. And Jaime sees this, and he wants to go and attack, and Tyrion is saying, "Run, you fool, flee, you fucking fool." And Of course, you know, Jamie always been a badass soldier, warrior, even with one hand, and he takes the spear and he's about to kill her. He's about to end the war, but right before he get there, the dragon swoops his head around right in front of her and roasts his ass. But before he feels that fire, Braun saved his ass and they fell in the water. You see that lake at the bottom right, and Braun saved Jamie's ass. And they fall in the water and they begin to sink, and the episode ends with Jamie sinking to the bottom. So we'll have to see how he gets out of there. It didn't look like he could swim too well by the way it ended. Thanks for watching the video. Subscribe, comment, share, like, and I'll see you in the next episode. Peace.